Hello, I'm Sammy from Folk Roundabout, and I'm featuring one artist per month for the year of 2024. I'm at the Candlelight Club now, and tonight I'm going to be interviewing Kim Ralls. So I'm going to ask him a few questions and let him tell you all about himself. Well, here you are, January's pin-up, which is Kim Ralls. So tell me, how old were you when you first got into music?
I first started playing guitar when I was 17, but I've been listening to music pretty much from birth. Mum and Dad always had music playing in the house, in the car. My mum's favourite anecdote is of my sister and I in the back seat at very young ages, head banging to Lynyrd Skynyrd playing Freebird.
That's class. You have a cool mum. So how did you learn to play your instruments then?
I made noises, as I say, when I was about 16, 17, to my parents. I'd really like to learn to play the guitar. And a friend of my mum's lent me her old Spanish guitar, which I mucked about with for a bit. And then I started saying to, I'd really like to save up and buy a guitar. And my dad had this old acoustic hanging around the house. Well, he bought it when he was at university in 1976, and one day he came to me and he said, right, there you go. He said, you'll need some new strings for it. And then he said, he taught me D, A and G, and then said the rest of it you learn yourself.
Well, there's many a song written with those.
Oh, yes.
So, what did you describe the music that you typically create?
I would call myself a folk singer-songwriter. I'm influenced by a lot of trad folk. I'm influenced by a lot of modern folk rock as well. Fairport Convention, Steel Eye Span, Show of Hands. Steve Knightley is a huge influence on my songwriting. But the main thing I do is try to tell stories through song.
Okay, so can you share a story behind one of your songs that listeners might not know?
Okay. Well, yeah. I'll talk about Castaway actually, which I played tonight. That was a bit of a bizarre genesis, that song, in that I was driving home from a trip out one day, and I misheard a lyric on the radio. And I'm not going to say whose lyric it was because I don't want to get into trouble. But I misheard the lyric as "flat broke on the shoreline," and I thought, "Ooh, there's something there." So I actually stopped the car, and I never leave home without a notebook and pen in my pocket because I'm very old-fashioned. And I actually pulled over, wrote the lyric down, and got home. And then the next day, whilst working in my local pub, I pretty much wrote the rest of the lyrics, and I to this day I couldn't tell you where they came from. And I played it, and pretty much the first time I played it, which was at an open mic night in York, people latched onto it, and I'm not entirely sure what it is, but there's something they connect with in that song, even though it's a completely made up story, and everybody assumes it's autobiographical because I sing it in the first person, but it's actually, I made it up.
It's got a good hook to it, it's a good catchy sing-along. So what's been the most challenging piece you've had to perform, and how did you manage it?
I think the most challenging piece, pieces actually, are some of the traditional folk songs that I do. It's the beauty of folk music is that it's quite open to interpretation. I get a lot of people come up to me after gigs or performances and they'll say, "That's fantastic. I didn't know that's what folk music was." Because a lot of people, they have ideas that, obviously the woolly jumper, finger in the ear type stuff, or they think of stuff like Bob Dylan or Joan Baez. But it's such a huge melting pot of different styles, different stories. But with traditional folk song, you're inheriting, in a way, hundreds of years of other people performing this song and making their own little changes and those changes eventually become thought of as traditional themselves. And so the challenge is to try and reinterpret it in a way that hasn't been done before, but still maintain the spirit of the song. A lot of the traditional folk songs I actually do sing them a cappella without any instrumentation, because I find that that works for the song, and that's how a lot of them would have been performed originally. But it's about trying to let the song breathe, and a lot of people swamp these songs in instrumentation, and then it loses a bit of power, I think.
Okay, so finally, what legacy do you hope to leave with your music?
I don't really think about legacy at 37 years old, but I would like to leave behind a body of songs that tell stories, some stories that people haven't necessarily heard before, whether made up or inspired by stuff I've read. I love my folklore. I love listening to folk tales and finding new stuff. Mainly because it doesn't matter where you are in the world, anywhere you go out through a door and you're walking in history. You're walking where people have walked before, things have happened. And those stories will get forgotten and they'll fade away unless they're preserved and communicated to new generations. But at the same time, I don't want to be stuck in a particular style in terms of what I sing about. I will sing about modern stuff as well. I'll sing about your basic boy meets girl song as well. But again, it's telling stories and it's giving people something that maybe they can relate to and jump on board. And hopefully, I'd like some people to maybe cover some of my songs.
I must admit, some of your lyrics really do strike you. Looking at you, the stranger's face comes to mind. And that's what Marie Little and I picked up on, because I played a couple of your songs to her, and it's deep. And that sort of thing has been going on forever.
And that one was just I worked in a bar, and I saw a couple coming in every night for a week during the summer, and they bought one round of drinks each night, went into the corner, and they basically had a quite domestic every single night. And I just couldn't help thinking, what the hell's going on here? And it just stayed with me, and the song kind of wrote itself in a way. I went to see Martin Joseph play, and he talks about, when he writes songs, he talks about sort of driving along, winding the window down and grabbing a song as it passes the open window. And that was one of those songs. I don't know where the lyrics came from. I just got them in my head, and I'd love to know what the heck I was on that day, because
Don't know, we'll have a pint of it later.
Oh, yes.
Well, it's been lovely meeting you again, and hope to bump into you again sometime.
Absolutely.
So good luck, and well, might be at the same festival. You never know.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, okay. Or drive carefully.